Recording in progress. Hello, everybody. This is Patsy, and I'm your co-host today. And we have Charles here with us, and two live Zoom support. That is Ty and Paul, and we have six guests to speak with us. Charles, where are you? Let's see. Here. Hi, Charles.
Hi, Patsy. I'm here.
I haven't finished introduction yet.
Oh, sorry for
I want to
interrupting.
mention. I just also want to mention our live chat. We have Connie, Nori from Japan, yay, and then Harriet from France, okay, and uh, Sherry from I think she's probably in Asheville right now, and then Richard from UK. I think that's about it. And V Davis, but she might hop on to the live chat to say hello and help you with your questions regarding Charles's website, Charles's and the content of this course, or where to find it and how to register, and our community, etc. And so that's it. And thank you very much for all of you to help us make this event possible, and especially this upcoming guest going to provide us a lot of juicy questions and Charles, your insight. So I think that's all I have to say. And I think the questions our participants bring up gonna speak for itself. So this event is to support the Living in the Gift course. So thank you. So would you like to say something to open?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. The like this whole thing, like with all these volunteers, and all of this happening is kind of a gift for me because I did very little of this work. Oh boy, someone is all of a sudden trying to call me now. That's strange. No one ever calls me except like, okay, yeah. It's kind of happening as a gift because like I didn't do anything. Basically, it's just happening. Now, obviously, a lot of hard work happened to make this happen, but I just feel really grateful that as my wife Stella says, that the universe is so generous. And yeah, so thank you everybody for volunteering and for just making all this work. And so we're going to have people pose questions or situations, maybe even that came up as they did the work in the course, in the first part of the course. And I'll do my best to respond from kind of like a lot of the questions even though it's just one person's question, it'll have many of the questions will spark recognition in a lot of you because we're all human here and we face many different variations of the same question in our lives. So the people who are asking will be speaking on behalf of many, and I'm going to try to respond on behalf of many as I pull from experiences and stories and conversations that I've had. So you'll be channeling a question, I'll be channeling a response, and we'll be in it together. So yeah, I'm ready to begin.
Great. So our first guest is Elliot. So while Elliot is getting his video on, okay, great. Here you are, Elliot.
Hey, Elliot.
Hello.
Hey, we can see you. Hey.
Okay.
Welcome.
So, am I on? Is everything like working okay?
Yes,
Yep.
it is. You are.
Okay. Yeah, this is all very confusing. But yeah, so thank you for having me on. And the situation that came up for me was about the 1.2 gratitude is my native state. And actually, when I was thinking about this, I realized I had kind of a similar reaction to We're All in This Together, where I went to Catholic school for a while. And in Catholic school, there was just this like constant drumbeat of like the adults expecting us to like show gratitude. And I have almost this like not quite a trigger, but like almost a trigger where when I hear the word gratitude, I'm like, because it was just this like constant, you need to feel grateful to us, you need to feel grateful to the church, you need to feel grateful for Jesus and like all of this. And it felt very like, and so it's hard for me to access expressing gratitude and also just kind of like discussion of the word and of the feeling, because I start to get this like it feels like even if it's not being like forced, it brings up that memory of like all of that kind of like adults demanding me express a certain thing. And then with we're all in this together, it brings up like, you know, it's like here's this profound like spiritual truth, but then I don't feel like I can access it because I've heard so many people express this like profound spiritual truth in a way where they're trying to like put something over on me or get some like agenda by me that's like not actually a we're in this together agenda, but they're just saying we're in this together. So it's becomes harder to challenge. And then I can't get past that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Like the programming is strong. Uh, Even like when you were speaking, I was imagining, you know, a nun at Catholic school telling you, Elliot, you need to, or telling the class, you need to be grateful and you need to do this. You need to, how arrogant is it actually to tell somebody else what they need? Like that already is something that I would bristle at. Like I would get defensive and oppositional if somebody thinks that they know what I need. If they're not somebody who knows me really well and who really loves me and who I've developed trust for, like maybe then I would love for somebody to tell me what I need. But when it's, and especially when it's coming from what you need is to be different from what you are, like then it's an attack on your being, like on your soul almost. And if I were making this point to a nun, I would also say it's kind of blasphemous, questioning God's handiwork. So, yeah, and so I just want to make the point that it's come up a bit in actually in the chat a little bit too, that this is not about being a better person or cultivating a virtue called gratitude. It's not saying gratitude is your native state, which means that you should be in gratitude and you're not. What's wrong with you? But it's actually saying, it's almost the opposite. It's saying that you don't actually have to aspire toward gratitude. It's not an ideal different from where you naturally are, but it's your native state. So therefore, if you're not feeling, and why is it your native state? Because you are in fact magnificently gifted with breath, with life, with sunlight, with water, with food, with love, with this life, you know, being alive. So gratitude is the natural response to that. So then if you're not feeling grateful, the first response is, wow, what happened to dispossess you of your birthright and to oust you from your native territory of gratitude? So then basically if that's the case, then the purpose of the mantra is to like spark some compassion for oneself, and then an inquiry, like what is keeping me from my native state? So yeah. So and another thing that it can do is just maybe bring you in touch with the truth of it, where like even if for a moment you experience your native state of gratitude, then that's a moment of knowing yourself. And that the power of a truth made visible is maybe the greatest power in the world. And then the truth operates on you. So yeah, like Elliot and anyone else who's laboring under the shoulds of modern moral education, please don't take it that way. It's not something like, and none of this gift stuff. It's not like live in the gift, so then you'll be an admirable person. Then you'll be a good person. Then you can excuse yourself from blame for complicity in the, patriarchal, white supremacist, world destroying machine, because you're in the gift now. So you're no longer, culpable as a member of the oppressor class. Like none of that stuff is what we're doing here. It's not part of the quest to be a good person. It is more of a return home to who we are. And then like recognizing that the conditions are not like, why aren't you in the gift? It's not because of your failing. It's because of the circumstances that we are placed in, and some of this material comes up later in the course, but the circumstances of being in a market economy, of receiving that kind of education, of not being in community, of being in a situation where it sure doesn't look like the gift is safe or even sane. Like we have a lot of hostile conditions. And really what we're doing in this course, and even more, this is going to be in the next course that we're putting together now on the Sanity Project. We're returning home to some lost truths that are lost in modernity, and in a collective, and this is why the forum is so important, in a collective to anchor each other into these truths. So is that helpful at all, Elliot?
Yeah, that really helps a lot to not like, how would I put this? Like, it kind of feels like it slips in underneath all of the conditioning. Like, I don't know how to put it yet. I definitely had a shift listening to you talk, but I don't think that I can like verbalize it as of right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, good. Well, thank you for bringing that up. I know for a fact that like, yeah, many people are having similar thoughts. So yeah, thanks for coming on the stage.
Yeah, and Elliot, where would you tell our guests where are you located? Because I forgot to introduce you in that way.
Oh, I'm in Ypsilanti, Michigan.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Thank you, Elliot. I really like the fact how we formed this community, because without this platform, I would never have met you. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that self is really magical. In that self, life is such a gift, brought forth so many good friendships, and even this space for us to be vulnerable. I thought your posting was really vulnerable, and speak for a lot of us. Thank you. So see you,
Thank you.
Naz. I love your contributions. Thank you. And I think our next guest is uh, Emma. Hi, Emma.
Hi, thanks so much.
Hey, so Emma, so would you let us know what part of the world you're calling from?
Yes, sure. I'm calling from Vancouver Island in Canada, Victoria to be more specific. And I
Thank
really appreciate this opportunity to ask you a question, Charles. I'm a mother of three very energetic boys, and I'm curious to hear you maybe share and speak to your experience of parenting children while living in the gift. And my question is kind of twofold, I suppose. One is to maybe gain some inspiration, and another part of it is to sort of deepen a community of people who are dedicated to living in the gift while navigating the inherent challenges and joys of parenthood, because there are moments when my kids can seem so unkind despite all my efforts to really fill their cup and love them unconditionally, and nurture reverence for the natural world. So that can feel discouraging. And through this course, I'm starting to really understand that a lot of the challenging moments in parenting sort of stem from this idea that we're still living a life of artificial scarcity of time and energy really come to mind when I think about parenting. So I'm dedicated to shifting us into abundance and to exiting the matrix, as you call it, and to doing those radical acts of kindness that make the world better for everyone. I feel like I just really need my community to keep me spirited when things get tough and difficult as a parent. So yeah, we're in this together, and thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Emma. This is like really related to it's a good follow-up from Elliot's question, and the because here is a situation. I mean, childhood is where the programming begins, and as you're saying, there is so much artificial scarcity built into the routines, the rhythms of modern life, and the pressures that are on parents. Like I noticed when Jimmy and Matthew were little, like my two oldest, and I was a young parent at that point, that most of the time when a conflict arose between me and my kids, it was because we had to be somewhere on time, or because I was in a hurry. And then like it was, if it weren't for that, it would be no problem that Matthew took half an hour to put his socks on, or that he got diverted into something else while I'm waiting around there, with waiting to, get him to his thing and get back to my computer or do whatever I needed to do. If we were in village life, then this whole conflict wouldn't arise. So the scarcity of time, which is artificial, introduced like, a lot of conflict. And we could maybe like another example would be the scarcity of play. This was another thing that came up. It was so hard for me to find other parents who valued child's play as much as Patsy and I did. It was like, I mean, we had tons of other kids in the neighborhood, but like to get them together to play, that came last in priority after school and after homework. And we're talking like kindergartners, or first graders, homework and your scheduled activities. And she has this lesson and that last lesson. And like, it just wasn't a priority. So if your situation is alone in a box without the kind of community you're talking about, like you can do your best. And we did our best, but we just cannot provide as individuals what a community offers. And another thing, like another part of there's another thing that's coming up for me now is the mindset of instruction. And like what I said before about the purpose of this course isn't to become a better person. Well, in that culture where we degrade the natural self and set up an ideal toward which we must improve, like we do that to ourselves, right? But we also do it to the kids. Even like not like seeing, and I'm not saying you're doing this, but this is just like the tide of the culture. For me, like my resistance to that is to the point where I don't even tell my kids to say please or thank you or that they're sorry, because it's like it's a kind of actually like a gaslighting to say thank you when they're not actually thankful. So what I like to do instead is kind of what this mantra is: point their attention to their gratitude in whatever way I can do it. Like, wow, grandma, was thinking about you and she knows you like Legos. And so she gave you this gift. And here it is, even after she died, the present is still waiting for you at Christmas, to point their attention to gratitude so that they feel thankful. And then when they witness me saying thank you to somebody out of gratitude, they get the idea, oh, here's a way to express this feeling that I have. And I don't know if I've done this perfectly. And same thing with sorry, same thing with please, and our kids are actually really polite, even though I have never once told them to say any of those words. And sometimes, yeah, they're polite, and sometimes maybe they don't say please, thank you, or sorry in a situation where it's socially expected. And so what I'm saying about that might extend to what you were talking about kindness. Like, how do you foster kindness? I mean, kids learn by example, you know, and also um, they're looking to you to learn how to be human. So if you hold the knowledge or you hold a model, even in your mind, of what a human being actually is, then they're going to gravitate toward that. So if you have in your unconscious, you have maybe some ideas that a human being is unworthy, is greedy, is selfish. Like if you hold in your mind that a human being is, like the nuns in Elliot's school hold a human being, then you're actually working at cross purposes to yourself, like trying to push them away from that, but also attracting them toward that simply by your belief that that's what a human being is, because you're holding the model for them. So then, if there is anything of that in your unconscious, and I don't know that there is, but there certainly is in mine, then it comes down to some of my healing work and paying attention, like how is it in the way I speak that I telegraph judgmentality toward anybody? Because even if it's toward a third person, there's the implication of my value for you is conditional on you not being like this person. So unkindness can be a reflection of something in the parent, and maybe in a distorted or extreme form. But children are very much our mirrors. And that doesn't mean like, oh, I'm going to blame myself for my child being unkind, but it is simply like a line of inquiry. What am I modeling? What am I holding? What am I not seeing about myself? Like how could this be a mirror? And maybe it isn't, but it's an avenue of inquiry. I mean, it could be from something else completely, but it's an avenue of inquiry. And I don't know if this is practical at all for you, or useful, but if you want to follow up or comment on it.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And I will do some inquiry there to see if there's something at the unconscious level that I haven't really tapped into that might be kind of perpetuating some of those behaviors in my kids. My kids are also very different. So I have one child who is extremely nurturing and kind and thinks of others constantly. And then the older sibling is the opposite. And he is always competitive, wants the bigger, the faster, the better. And I can't figure out where it comes from. So I'm just working through that.
I mean, there's a lot of it in society, the bigger, the faster, the better. I mean, that message is coming from other kids in school. If he's going to school, it's coming from all over the place, from, superhero movies, how is the problem solved? Who wins? It's the bigger and the faster.
And it's interesting because we shelter them from that stuff as much as we're able to, right? We don't do technology. We don't expose them to the fighting and those sorts of things. So it's fascinating. Kids are fascinating, and they're always, presenting challenges for their parents. And usually it's an opportunity, I think, for growth on both sides. But I really appreciate your thoughts on that. And I will give an inquiry to that idea of what's happening.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just say one more thing, like as a general question, like, I can say what I say, but when it comes to an individual specific child, then, I mean, it could be all kinds of things, it could be a displacement of some way that he wants to be striving toward excellence that is frustrated, and that may have nothing to do with you. I mean, there's so many things that could be going on that like, I don't even want to really guess. Like maybe everything I said is not even relevant. but
I think it's relevant. I think it's relevant. He is just a particularly complex character, and I may never figure it out, but I'm willing to try and to support him in his journey, whatever that ends up being. So, yeah, thanks again,
yeah,
Charles. Appreciate
yep,
the time.
yeah. Thanks for stepping up.
Yeah, thank you, Emma. And I want to make a comment, as a parent, we all heard that, our children are gifts to us. So one of the biggest gifts is a reminder of that, how we can give back, like, so for me, when I heard Charles talking about the scarcity of play, I remember a story that I encountered by selling dolls, that I paint dolls and I sell them on the internet. And one time I encountered a customer, he's an adult man, and then we got into this conversation back and forth about toys. And he said, I bought, when I was a child, I noticed that adults don't play, right? So I vowed as a child that I want to always play. I want to keep my childlike quality throughout my adult life. And that's when I remember that, oh, so if I want my children to play, then I must first play, right? So that's just a thought, that insight for reflection that I have about playing. Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank
Betsy.
you. So we'll see you in NAS. Now our next guest is Yasmina. Hey, welcome, Yasmina. So would you tell our guests where you're calling from?
Yeah. Hello, Patsy. It's so good to see you.
I know, so good to see
Hi,
you.
everyone. I'm in Brussels, so in Belgium.
Yeah, welcome. So Charles, it's all yours. You guys talk now. See you.
Hi, Yasmine. Yasmina, are we saying it right?
It's Yasmine.
Yasmine, yeah. So yeah, welcome. What's on your mind?
Okay, thank you so much. And first, I really want to take the opportunity to say I adore this course. Really, I love it. It's I don't know. It's a proof that I don't know. I feel very much taken seriously, and I really like that. About the question. So it's a question that has to do with a later part of the course, the part on scarcity and on synchronicity and sacrifice, which is an amazing part and my favorite. It's really great. But so at one point you ask us to look at what we truly serve, and that's a huge question for me. Like, I really love that question. And personally, I struggle with the fact that ever since I was a kid, I had a ton of gratitude, felt very indebted to the world for its beauty and its richness. And my first natural answer to that was to make art, which I kept doing my whole life, despite a mind that told me that it was no point, that there was no place for it. For all kinds of reasons. And anyway, so there was a whole story about that. But however, in the meantime, I mean, there are many ways to serve what I want to serve, many, many ways. I find for me, I have three different ways for that, which one is art, one is service to people, especially people who struggle with certain issues that I have some experience with and where I can really, really be useful. And also serving in terms of nature and connection to nature, which is also really dear to my heart. And what I find is that very practically, it happens to me that I'll be working on a painting, obsessed as always by that thing, and then somebody will need help. Something will show up. And it's my insistence on wanting to serve through art seems selfish to me. Because I don't, most of the time, I mean, I work alone. I don't see who I'm helping there. And at the same time, I know my heart is telling me that I need to do that. It holds the magic for me. It just breaks my heart it breaks my heart all the time. that I have to choose. It's like choosing between two kids.
Mm-hmm.
And also it makes me question my motives. Am I truly wanting to serve, or am I just trying to have it my own way and to decide what's, I don't know, to be honest. It's I'm sorry, I'm not sure if it's clear.
No, I get it. Yeah.
It's very complex. And there's a lot of weird motivations for everything. So, but that's what I got. Maybe I'll just let you say something.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say that first, I think I and everybody watching and listening is feeling your heart, and just like what a beautiful heart you have. And I'm sure a lot of us are thinking, don't worry about it. You're doing great, you know? And I feel touched even that, you know, you're having these thoughts and having this like heartbreak. It takes a big heart to feel the heartbreak from that. Yeah, I just wanted to say that first. And then, you know, so here's a situation where sometimes your heart is saying one thing and your mind is saying something else. Your heart is saying, yes, this is important. This is what I'm meant to do. And your mind is saying, well, that's not going to help anybody. You know, get out there and help people. And sometimes maybe your heart and mind are aligned. Like I'm sure there's times where you're doing some art and some situation comes up and your heart says, okay, I'm going to put this down now and I'm going to help this person. Like that, definitely, I'm sure that happens sometimes. Other times, your heart and mind disagree on whether you should go help this other person. And your heart's like, no, I need to continue doing this artistic creation. So maybe I can offer something to explain to your mind the wisdom of your heart. Art is fundamentally an act of devotion. It's a devotion to beauty. When you do something artistically, you're doing it better than it needs to be done for any practical reason. There's no reason, no practical, quantifiable reason to make it that beautiful. Like say you're making a chair or a window. I wrote an essay about this, visiting a place in Brazil called Source Temple, where like every window was beautiful. Every window was handmade. Now, like, why would you do that? It doesn't, you can still see out the window if you spend half the time on it. You're still like, you're not going to feed more people by making beautiful windows. Like, why would you do that? But it was an act of devotion. And what is the impact of that? It inspires other people to devotion. When you're surrounded by devotion, you become more devoted. When you're surrounded by beauty, you become more aligned to beauty. And a lot of the things that are done in this world that are harming the world and harming other people are done because they're not in a spirit of beauty and devotion. And it's much easier to act in ignorance and disregard of what is sacred when everybody around you is also acting in ignorance of what is sacred. But when I find that when I'm surrounded by beautiful things made with care, then it's like, wow, everybody else is acting with devotion. So am I. I want to do it too. And for me, it's like, that means the person I'm with, I act in devotion to them. The work that I'm doing, I'm thinking, how is the world going to read this? Or how is the world going to hear this? What am I actually putting into the world? I mean, that's what an artist needs to be attentive. An artist takes seriously the material and is doing it right and with attention and devotion at every moment. Otherwise, you make a mistake and you have to do it over again if you're not actually paying attention. So art is an invitation into that mentality, especially when the art is integrated into life. I'm actually not a big fan of art museums and art galleries, and because those sequester art outside of life and say that, well, devotion is something that happens only in special circumstances. I like art that is infused into our entire environment. And so if your heart is calling you to do this, maybe it's because your heart knows that this is something the world really needs right now. Because so much of our society is not done in devotion. Most of our products, most of our houses, they're done for efficiency. They're done for profit. They're not done out of devotion to the sacred. They're not done out of beauty. They're not done out of service to somebody that you love. Part of art is, things are not beautiful in the abstract. Things are beautiful in a relationship. If you make something for somebody, you make them, a shirt, say, like you make it just the right size for them. You make it to match their eye color. Like beauty is relationship. So this is, in my view of the future, there's a lot more artists, and the future comes through that. So anyway, I hope that might help your mind a little bit accept what your heart seems to know very well. Yeah, I could say more, but maybe that's enough for the moment. And also I'll just say thank you for your work in all three areas. It's important. And your heart knows that it's important. That's why you do it. Trust yourself. Everybody looking at you wants you to trust yourself.
So, Yasmine, just so that you know, on the live chat, a lot of people are acknowledging what you just reflected and expressing their appreciation to the beautiful light that you shine through, and thanking you for speaking their concerns as well. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Charles, and thank you, Beth.
So see you back at NAS. So Charles, before we bring up Marc, I just want to show this.
Wow.
Isn't this beautiful? So I'm gonna use this as a talking show and tell to end our session today. Okay, so I didn't ping that, but there's a story behind it. Mm-hmm. So now let's welcome Marc. Marc, here you are. Yes. Hi, Marc. Nice to see you.
Well, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
Cool. Yes, I have a question, but I'm not sure if it's a good question. I've been living in the gift for about 8 years now, and I've run into a problem I just can't solve. Well, it is kind of solved, but it happened that I've been giving for years and years now, and someone wanted to give something to me, and I accepted that, but it turned out that it wasn't really a gift, and she wanted something in return. So we offered something in return, but it wasn't enough. So we were lucky because she thought it over and eventually said it was okay, but it still didn't feel right. And I wanted, well, it left me with a feeling I didn't want to do something with her again. I didn't want her to use her services again. And I feel it hurt our relationship. And I've been communicating a lot about the way we live, the way we give unconditionally. And she reads all that, she knows all that, and still she seems to think it's all about barter. And to me, it's not about barter at all. I really wanted to be unconditional from both sides. And so I was hoping you could give me an insight so that I can prevent this from happening again.
Gosh, yeah, wow. I hope I can too, but I'm not confident that I can. Yeah, I mean, you know, we're in a society, modern society, that's quite distanced now from the world of gift. So a lot of the habits and perceptions of gift culture are almost lost, and people don't really know how to do it. So they might resort to ideas about fairness, about barter, about exchange, you know, and this is fair for that, and so forth, because they're not in a gift culture. In a gift culture, none of that. Well, actually, even in a gift culture, those things come up. I mean, maybe this is just part of being human. Like there are people in gift culture who are known as being stingy, and there's, you know, they're not maybe very well liked, you know, and but then maybe sometimes they're generous too, and then some people defend them, and then there's, you know, gossip about in different directions, and it gets complicated. I don't think that gift is an escape from the complications of human life. And sometimes people go into gift because they want to escape the grubby, dirty world of money and kind of be above it all. And it does not actually do that. The issues come up. And, you know, so the one you're describing, what I do in situations like that, sometimes I'll just return the gift, you know. Or another thing is I'm like, what part of me is afraid to displease this person? And am I using gift to manage people's perceptions? And if I am, that's okay. But it's something to know about myself. Like, how much am I actually in gift, and how much am I using gift to actually get something in return, intangible? Maybe it's people's approval. Maybe it's that I get off the hook for certain things. Maybe I escape judgments. And if those things are present, that might explain why I'm upset when it doesn't work. And then there's also part of it, like, so then there's the part of the ideology of the separate self is that we are selfish. Like the self is bad. And this goes back to what the nuns were telling Elliot, you know, like, you are bad, but you can become good if you deny yourself. And so if that's one of the motivations for going into gift, and this comes up in some of the later sessions, actually, the results are not going to be very pleasant. So like one question that I would ask in a situation like this, and I'm not sure if it's helpful or relevant, but one question I would ask is, are you comfortable with accepting a gift, not giving anything in return, and having that person be mad at you, or giving less than they expected and having them be mad at you? When you feel like, are you willing to trust your generosity and your desire to give or not give? Like, you have an orientation, like an orienting organ called the heart, which knows when to give and when not to give. Sometimes you might be walking down the street and a homeless person asks for money and you give them 20, I don't know where you are, 20 euro. And another time, a homeless person might ask you and you just walk on by. You don't even like that person. You don't feel, no, I don't want to be generous to you. Like, are you willing to trust that? So it can get, like, when you get into the issues of gift, often it often brings up issues of deservingness, issues of boundaries. Like, a gift relationship it pierces a boundary. It loosens a boundary. Bringing somebody into your home, sharing a meal with them, hosting them in your house, like giving something of yourself to that person, it creates a bond, right? It creates a tie. And the question might come up: do you actually want ties with a person in that way? For me, I'm just saying this because for me, it's come like these are some of the issues that I'm familiar with that I've encountered, especially like maybe childhood habits of creating safety by making sure everybody likes me, and feeling uncomfortable if I offend somebody, even if like maybe you know that you actually did give a gift that is commensurate with what you received, or maybe maybe you feel like actually some anger, like, oh, that person was manipulating me. Anger is the soul's voice of saying, protect a boundary. So that might be something is like I'm not meaning to psychoanalyze you or anything, but this is just some of the stuff that I've encountered in myself, of like being uncomfortable with my anger, and trying to avoid setting a boundary. And let me just smooth this person over, let me just, I'll just do what they want, make them happy, and they'll go away. And like, am I actually respecting myself when I do that? So, and just maybe I'll just say more generally to everybody, like living in the gift is not about being a nice guy. It's not about being a good person. It's just simply a recognition, coming from a recognition of what's true in the world. And the work that comes from that, may not look like I'm going to give more stuff away. It may look like I'm going to protect some boundaries here. I'm going to receive gifts and be okay with that. And am I really okay with that? Because if I'm not, then when somebody else isn't okay with it, that's going to really upset me. If someone else is not okay with, the beauty of my house, or the amount of money I made, or the whatever blessings I have in my life, if somebody else is not okay with that, then if I'm not okay with it, it's gonna upset me. So am I okay with that? And if not, why? Why am I not okay with that? And that inquiry might lead to, not feeling like a valid and worthy person. It might be a symptom of misdirection of the flow. Like if a lot is coming in and I'm not using it in a way that is inspiring and beautiful to me and meaningful, then maybe I'll start to feel guilty about it. But the guilt is about the direction of the flow fundamentally. It's not about I'm not worthy of having so much. So anyway, there's a lot there to think about. I don't know if it was useful or not. Do you want to follow up in any way?
Yeah, it is a lot because, but it's given me new insights. It's given me something to ponder about, do some introspection. So I have to listen to it again to really, understand everything. But I think that's true for everything in the course that I've heard so far. You've given me lots of new insights, but I have to hear it over and over again to really make it mine.
Mm-hmm.
And well, that's a good thing, of course.
Yeah.
So, all right, thank you.
And I just want to, maybe can I add one more little thing?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Kind of like Yasmine, you know, I'm seeing like such a kind and gentle person here when I look at you. Um, so please don't take any of what I said as okay. I've got to look at what's wrong with me. I think it's just maybe a wish that you turn your kindness and gentleness even more toward yourself. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't take it personally. So I see what you're saying, but I'm not upset.
Okay.
So now I just think about it some more, and thank you for your answer. Maybe till next time.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Marc.
Okay.
Yeah, and Charles, your observation is so right. Marc is kind and he's generous, and he's been such a helpful, welcoming regional host, regional group host on the in the community. I mean, I oftentimes when people approach me about how to do the hosting of regional group, I would send them to Marc or.
Is he in the Netherlands? Do he introduce himself?
Pardon me?
Where is Marc?
Oh, Marc, what you?
Yeah, Netherlands.
Netherlands. Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And also I want to comment that Marc, your experience, I too had that. You know, like uh, decades ago, I was trying to be generous, and I went through this process of being that woman, and then eventually I went to the process of being you, and then you know, and everything in between. So I constantly find myself observing how to act in the wholeness of various perspectives in life. So if I have to comment on this, I would say that, you know, living in the gift is a process, and we are here to hold hands and supporting each other to find just the perfect way of responding to the situation that we feel complete and whole in ourselves. Yeah. Thank you, Marc.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye bye.
Hey, Patsy, do we have more guests, or because I have some other things that I could say.
We have two more. One is a proxy, and one is a proxy. And I'll read the question to you. So I mean, I have this plan for an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay.
Is that okay? Because so would you like to say something, or should I read?
Well, there was one. It won't take me too long. There was one question on the chat that someone asked. Like, someone said, like, the most moving part are the stories that we're hearing. And, you know, Charles, do you have a story that, you know, was key to your, you know, realizations about gift and stuff? And, you know, what it brought to mind, it's not like some huge transforming, you know, event, but it's like people who have crossed my path and come into my life who were so generous that it just like broke my heart. Lewis Hyde says something about this, like like a truly generous man, the naivete of a truly generous person is heartbreaking because it calls to something that's been lost. It reminds us of something that's been lost. You know, like the simplicity of it, like the naivete. You kind of want to protect that person, you know. And two people come up in that, both of whom you know better than I do, actually. One was Douglas. Douglas was Patsy's boyfriend several years before she met me. And then I met him, and he was just like one of these people who's like, when everyone goes out to dinner and then it comes time to pay the tab and people chip in some, but people forget the tip, they forget the tax, et cetera, and he's left with the bill and always ends up paying more. Like, he's that guy who does it without a word, without a protest. And when I met him, he was in a pretty bad state, alcoholic and stuff. but what did he spend whatever he had left over? He spent it being like in the Big Brother program for like kids, um, just such a beautiful guy. Like, it was almost like, yeah, I understand why you're an alcoholic, because you're too beautiful for this earth, and just like, I mean, even 15 years later, um, I kind of want to cry when I think of his face, and yeah, the other one is your brother, who um, also had a very hard life, and didn't know his nephews very well, our children, but when he had the chance, he would take the day off, take them fishing, be with them, just like pure generosity. This guy, pure love. And where did it come from? It's not like he received a lot of love when he was growing up, but he received enough to connect him with that. And it's people like this, that are my heroes, and who they're the ones who keep me sane, and keep me from getting lost in the values and of capitalist society, and the money chase and like all that stuff. Like, they remind me of what's real through their example. Like, the heart recognizes something important in these people. So that's like, honestly, more than anything I've ever read, or more than any big spiritual leader or anything like that, it's people like those that kind of put me to shame, in a good way. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. That's right. I remember.
Yeah, thank you, Charles. And I want to also respond like these two characters that you mentioned. One of the greatest beauties that I see in them is they're not psychoanalyzing themselves. To me, the most precious character of these people, they're just living in the flow. So, from the lenses looking towards them may see that, oh, they went through this and they went through that and they were this and they were that. But when you know them, they are so not about these certain like diagnosis. I mean, eventually, this dear ex-boyfriend of mine, he died young because of his choice of using substances, but that just didn't change a thing about his kindness, his successful life. He's such an inspiring person. It's so true. Yeah. So yeah, and about my brother, well, I can say a lot, but I will save it for another time. Thank you, Charles, for mentioning that.
Yeah, and just let's I'm sure other people listening to that have it brought to mind somebody that they know who's like that. And I just invite everybody to take half a minute right now and just to feel the gratitude for those people, these angels that are among us and here to teach us. Thank you.
Thank you. So may we all live more in the flow of who we are with ease and grace. Okay. So I'm gonna read the questions from Azul Tom. This is a French name, and she's from France. Uh, she said, "Someone I appreciate deeply says that our questions have also been colonized, extracted, exhausted, consumed, and used up. He said that we first need to restore our questions then we must welcome them and make them a home. Then we ask ourselves, are the questions feeding the gods? So, dear Charles, rather than bringing my tired questions to you, to your fire, I'm truly interested in the questions that are being restored within you. What are the questions you hold dear that could feed the gods? Many thanks, Azul.
Mm, beautiful. So I think he is quoting, I asked in the chat, he's quoting Martine Prechtel. At first I thought it might have been by Okomalafe, but it's Martine Prechtel. And I've noticed actually what he's speaking about, that some questions get tired. In me, the questions that have gotten tired are the how questions. How do I do this? How do I do that? Underneath them, there's another question. The how questions kind of hijack the other question. And I'm actually not, I don't want to be too hasty to put it into words. I think that that's actually also part of the reason why the questions get exploited and used up. Because a question is an expression of a of a dissatisfaction or a desire to transition, a desire to transform, a desire to change. It comes from a recognition that there's something that wants to change. What is that thing? Otherwise, why would I be curious about what is outside of what I already know? And so I'm right now, I'm kind of doing this in real time, but it's something that I would like to spend more time on. To take the time for the real question to be asked, because otherwise I get into a cliche thing, like, how do I be of better service to Gaia? Or, what is missing for me to experience more joy in my life and things like that. Like, I can come up with questions like that, but are they really an offering to the gods right now in this moment? Those have, something. But yeah, I'm sorry. This is something that I'm not actually wanting to do in real time in front of a screen. But I do appreciate the invitation, and I will think about that.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, Charles, that's a perfect gift because now we can all go back to the thread and we all reflect on it and chip in our reflection and insight. So, and talking about gift of time, one of our guests, the last person, he left So we are moving into the closing. So I wanted to share this. I didn't really plan this, but I decided to uh, show this and share this piece. So the inspiration came from hearing you said that creating art is an act of devotion. So Kay Baxter from NAS, she made lots of these beautiful, beautiful paintings. During the time she's diagnosed of chronic disease and disabled, so she couldn't work, she couldn't do anything but stay at home. And when she stays at home, working with her own situation with her soul, what she does is she studies and she meditates and she make art. And then recently, she found like some functional therapy. She started to return to vital health. Then she started to share this art that she made during the time that she wasn't able to see, function in the world in the normal way. And they were just so brilliantly beautiful. That's like being initiated. And apparently right now she's moving forward in life with her health back and finding her path. Like she had clarity now. That's what she needs to do in life, and making art is one of it, and being a healer is one of it. And I feel such honor and grace to be holding her it's like like a manifestation of her soul. And it was in my hand, and I'm able to share this here with you all. So that's the inspiration, and that's the gift that come from this whole process.
Can you show us again, Patsy?
Yeah.
Just hold it a little longer. Yeah.
Okay. Is this in frame?
No, a little farther away.
A little further away. Oops.
Move it back. Yeah, there we are. That's good.
Covering myself, I don't really see. Oops. It even reflects the light, just so brilliant. And when I meditate with it, like with the open eye meditation, it evoked a very indescribable state. And I remind myself that that's the healing that she's going through. Healing. So functional art this is yeah. When I say functional art, meaning that this art functions as part of a healing of someone. Yeah. So I hope you don't mind that I share this with you.
Oh, it's good. Yeah.
I'm talking to Kate right now. I just love her so much. Okay, so I'm done. So Charles, do you want to say something to close?
No, I mean, I that little 30-second invocation of the people whose generosity breaks our hearts was what I would like people to take with them. And so maybe just touch that energy once more and feel its presence and know that it will travel with you. And thank you for being here with us. And yeah, we'll be back again in a few weeks and for another live call. And enjoy the course, everybody.
Yeah, and just also want to mention that in 15 minutes, so we're ending like 5 minutes earlier, then maybe we'll keep it at 6 o'clock, the Eastern Standard Time, for some resting from the screen, so we can click back to another Zoom link for member gathering and reflections. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.